Welcome to Working Dogs and Whiskey. Join Sean White and Jonathan Moses as they pour a glass and dive into insightful and fun conversations about dogs in all their incredible roles. So grab your favorite drink and let's raise a glass to great stories, laughs, and a whole lot of dog talk.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Working Dogs and Whiskey. I'm Sean White, and I'm sitting here with my friend, co-host Jonathan Moses. How are you?
Tired. That's right.
Man, yeah, we're both dying. We gotta stop doing this.
Yeah, we got to. I said, well, right now I'm on nights, so it is better to record at nights, at least for me. And I appreciate you doing it with me. But the problem is on my days off, like I got so much to do with the kids and just normal dad dog duties that I'm up the whole day, as opposed to work days when I sleep the whole day. So by the time we come around to record, I'm like dead.
Yeah, no, I gotta be up in like 4 hours. It's one of those things where, we just have to adjust and make do with what we got. So we can't have you out there sleepy on those shifts. You gotta protect the community.
I try something like that.
All right, but since we're on limited time and we don't want to waste too much time, I'll kick it off. We'll just get into it. But first, so I just ran across the posting from the IACP.
Yeah.
Which is the International Association of Canine Professionals.
There you go.
Right?
Yep.
There we go. All right. But no, they just made a post, and I'm not sure if you saw it, that they're trying to license dog trainers in the state of New York, I believe. So
I'm going to pull it up as you're talking about it.
Yeah. So, and from my understanding, I believe it's going to be part of the licensing process is the trainers are going to be on a positive only based system is what they're prompting or what they're promoting for. But it's kind of a weird thing to think that we live in an era where that's actually up for consideration on a legislative level. What do you got?
I got the post up here. So what they're actually promoting is to go in and like speak against the bill that New York is proposing for positive only trainers. They're trying to get some pushback from it and trying to prompt like, hey, we should be able to train however we need to with effective training methodologies, what this is saying, and opposing government control over unlicensed industry. Like, this is America. We don't let the government tell us what to do. You don't get to take away our toys, whether it's guns, e-collars, whatever. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, I know me and you have talked about this a lot before. And you could take away e-collars, you can take away prong collars. People will find another way to correct the dog. These tools were made to be used humanely and effectively and very clear. Like, they're good tools. They can be abused like anything, but people will just shift to something else. And that's when we'll probably really start to see shit hit the fan. So I don't know. I don't see it happening. Like this, I don't know. It's America. The government doesn't get to tell us what to do. Oh, yeah.
Not without contract. But
yeah, there's some consequence.
Wow. No, but I mean, to me, it's kind of like it's like interesting to know that like positive only is making it that far. And I think Tom Davis, he put it correctly when he was saying these bills, like when they get pushed up, they're not promoted as like, hey, people are abusing dogs, or maybe they are, but like it's saying like pretty much this is the system that works or whatever, and in the prevention of potential abuse of dogs, right? They don't speak to the good that these tools are providing, and nobody, unfortunately, on our end, and maybe it's more prevalent or it's becoming more prevalent, but like more courses that are oriented with teaching people. Because in some respects, I can kind of see not necessarily the licensing process. I think that's just more of a scheme to make money. Like there's been talks about certification standards, and I know people like just dealing in the pet industry. A lot of people want to know if you have certifications of some degree. So
Yeah.
I think that's kind of a step in the right direction, maybe in some ways. But to force a whole community of dog trainers to teach only through positive reinforcement, good luck, dude. Like, there's
Yeah.
nothing's going to get achieved.
No. It takes years to get a dog trained, and there's too many methodologies, I think, to come up with like a consistent licensing system that everybody could agree to or that would be fair across the board. I just don't see it happening. Hopefully this bill gets shot down. But like you said, you have politicians, and I think what ends up happening is the politicians hear something that sounds good, that people are very passionate about, and they will use it as a stepping stone for their platform without doing any research into the other side. Right? Like these are humane, effective tools. They're used for communication. They save dogs' lives. I got a call today I was telling you about. Lady has 3 behavior mods that I'll probably end up taking on. They've bitten 3, 4 different people now, looking like they're gonna have to get sign like an aggressive dog paperwork that comes with a pretty hefty fine. And then if their dogs get out again or they do this again, they're probably going to get put down. That's just the reality of the situation. Using these tools, using a combination of reward based training and corrections, I'm pretty confident I can get these dogs to behave and kind of fix the root of the issue. You take away the other half of that equation, tell me I can't use prong collar, slip, e-collar for dogs that are deeply, deeply like rooted in these behaviors. I don't know I can get the job done, to be honest. Not in a timely fashion. Lady's already going to end up paying probably about $15,000 to get it done. Take away the tools, who knows how long it would take, or if it even holds up.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's just odd. Like, I'm just sitting here trying to think of a world where you would do that. Like, how many dogs are going to be. One, like you mentioned earlier, the first thing is that people are not just going to magically stop correcting their dogs.
No.
Like, they're just going to find alternative means, and they're going to be more invasive, more intrusive. You're going to see vet bills skyrocket because people, like, I'm going to be honest, people are going to fucking kick their dogs or slap them and things like that, or use other things that are unconventional to correct their dogs and try to alternate some of that behavior, the undesirable. So you're not going to really fix anything. You're just going to promote violence against dogs. Yeah. Like when I had a Marine that told me, he was like, one of the reasons that he likes e-collars that no matter how hard you push the button, it doesn't apply more pressure unless you obviously turn up the dials on the actual device. But like, he was, you could be mad and like, hitting the e-collar like as hard as you want, but it's not going to do anything past what you turn it up to. But when you're using pressure, you're using prong collars and things like that, like your emotion travels down leash, it's easy to do. And I'm not saying not to be dismissive to prong collars and slips. Like, I use them all the time, obviously.
Yeah.
And I teach people how to use them. But my thing is, you take away take away those items or those tools, what are those people going to do if they're, if we already have a culture that a small percentage misuses the tool, what are those guys going to do? It's not like they're going to back away from dog training. So
No.
you're enabling abuse, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's no different than that video me and you talked about that was going around. I won't get into it too much, but tell the guy's clearly frustrated with his dogs. He doesn't understand what to do. And human nature, when you can't communicate effectively, some people tend to push and punish their dogs or try and be dominant. It's the thing that gets thrown around with dogs all the time. Can't let them know they're in charge. You stepped on my foot. It's just going to escalate. It's going to get much, much worse before it gets better. And you'll see some dogs kind of pay the price for it, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it just takes me back because, like, before, like, e-collars and things were, like, known, like, I think about, like, how my, like, great-grandparents, like, refer to animals. Like, it was nothing to them to, like, hit a dog or something.
Yeah.
Like, because, I mean, they didn't have any education. It was, like, backwoods South Carolina, but, like, in the God knows when,
Yeah.
But, like, it didn't mean anything to them, and they weren't, like, looking to hurt animals. It was just, okay, we'll just correct them. We'll stop it. Like you said, it's almost human nature to a degree in some people. So I think, yeah, it's going to be rough. And I think the thing that bothers me the most is like if they're pushing this agenda on a legislative level, who do we have up there that defends our side of the coin? Because
Right now, the only big name, that really packs some weight that I know of is the AKC, which it's funny because you hear so many breeders give the AKC shit.
Yeah.
I was one of them, to be honest.
Right.
But when I went to HITS in 2023, got to speak with a couple of people who were actively involved when that bill was coming out of California to stop dogs from doing police work, as far as like on the patrol side, like biting.
Yeah.
They actually sent representatives up there who could break down and explain, hey, this is why, this is how this works, this is the science based in it, and here's all the good that it does. And to me, they got a lot of respect in my eyes for that. Whenever they're willing to step up to the plate like that, and these aren't like just your looky loos who don't know what they're talking. Like they're sending real dog trainers that I thought were really good and very knowledgeable up there. So that's really cool to see. But I'd say they're one of the more prevalent groups. I'm curious to see if the IACP has some people, like they put that post up. It's already got 200 likes, 14 comments, 23 shares. And it's been sent 125 times. So it's making its rounds. And I'd be curious to see if they get some people who go up there and kind of defend it. But the thing is, we have to stop it now, and we have to stop it across the board in every state, because once it happens in one state or with one group of dogs, I don't care if they're trying to ban e-collars on hunting dogs. If they do it in hunting dogs, sport dogs are next. Like we kind of have to look out for each other as a community, even if we kind of do different disciplines within dogs, essentially, right? Like it's similar, but we all kind of do different things. We got to look out for each other, because if they take one of our things, they'll take all of our shit. So that I really want to be cognizant of.
Yeah, and I think speaking about it, obviously, like you said, it's making its way around. So I don't foresee it going too far with a lot of people, with the spread of understanding of like this is a thing that's happening. And again, I didn't do like a deep research of it, so I kind of feel bad talking about it. But it's one of those things that is that important that people need to understand that like this is happening. And the first thing that comes to mind is like outside of actual working dogs, like we have some working dogs that really benefit from that tool, from prong collars to e-collars and things like that, like high-end working dogs that's the only prescription for management. Like you're not going to get through to them in a functional operational level anyway, dangling treats and giving them toys and things like that. Like these are the closest dogs I've seen to being stubborn. And secondly, the pet industry is going to pay probably the most penalties on this.
Yeah,
Like,
without a doubt.
yeah.
The working dogs at least have high enough drive that you can do a lot without the tools, and you can draw them back in. You've got something they're motivated for typically. But like these pet dogs are really going to pay the price. It's going to be that everyday dog owner that gets really affected by a tool man. Toby, board and train I got here now, and I'm looking at him. Like he showed up, he hadn't bit anyone outside of his owner yet. He tried. He barks, growls, blows up. He was headed down a path that he just wasn't going to have a ton of freedom. He's here for a 30-day off leash. With the tools now, he's got a good chance of earning that freedom, being allowed to explore, kind of go away, relieve some stress. We're getting to the root of a lot of issues. Like he's doing really well. The tools are going to give him freedom, not make him scared and beat him down as a dog. Like he's going to be able to go out and explore and be away from his owner and come back when he's told and be safe about it without being a menace to the community. And that's just not possible without tools. Pet owners are definitely going to pay the price on that one.
Yeah, unfortunately. And again, we're just kind of speculating or fantasizing about a world without tools, which I don't think is very realistic. I don't think that's going to happen. But who knows, man? There's a lot of things that everything's changing almost daily. So who knows?
There's countries who get it done, obviously. But I don't know.
But that's a good argument. on the other side, because I'm very infatuated with like perspective. So that's a good point. The argument could be made that other people get it done, but then I always go back. I remember I was on a trainer's course, and somebody made an argument that, well, SeaWorld is always the classic go-to example. They get it done without using the choke chain or inverses and all this shit. And I sat there for a
Yeah.
day, and I was like, mm-hmm. And I was like, man, that's a good point. And I went home, and I was like, the fuck are they talking about? Like, like I was
Yeah,
like,
that's
I went back. I was like, dude, they put them in this giant tank or a kennel and deprive them.
straight up
It's food
Skinner bot.
deprivation. Yeah, to the point. I mean, it's negative punishment, and to the point where they're so frantic that they'll do all types of abnormal behaviors. Or some of them are conducive. I can't speak too intelligently, and I'm not talking against SeaWorld, specifically. Well, I kind of am, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, did they go through? It's a lot worse than. I mean, some of those whales would probably want to trade off with these dogs. I mean, you put a leash on you and you follow this clear signal, yeah,
Yeah.
and then you get food on top of it. It's like, dude, it's
Have you
pretty easy.
did you see
But,
that Netflix documentary Blackfish that came out in
yeah,
like 2015? Yeah, it w- unveiled a lot of the behind the scenes of SeaWorld, and like you said, these things are deprived to the point where they're frantic. And
yep,
as nice as purely positive training sounds, like I would love if I could get a dog. Like, it's not like I'm out here because I enjoy beating dogs, or I'm like, yep, give it to them, right? Like,
right,
no, the tools are the only way to get effective listening. If you told me I never had to correct a dog and it would do everything I wanted without ever having to using a tool, I would definitely listen to that. Like, why would I not want to do that? The problem is it's not reliable, right? It just isn't. And that's where the issue comes in. Even with SeaWorld, like those animals were deprived to an extreme. And isn't there a part in that documentary that chick got like drowned or the whale like attacked her?
yeah, yeah. On that one, they so I guess it did something minuscule, like didn't react to some stimulus or some signal, and then but the whale, to its understanding, assumed that it did the right thing, right?
Yeah.
And it had an expectation for reward. And she was just like, she gave him the signal that you're not going to get fed, and he flipped out, and like
Yeah.
he crashed out, I guess is what the kids say now. And,
He
but
crashed out.
yeah, but quite literally, and to her detriment, he took her under and wouldn't, and refused to give her back, and let her resurface. So, like that's the effects of negative punishment, and that's the only thing you have to use. Like if you're going to use positive only system or reward based systems, the only thing you can do is withhold it if you're not allowed to
And it's not even
implement any.
purely positive. There's nothing
Well, yeah,
positive about depriving an animal to like, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it either. I do it all the time. But you deprive them of resources and then dictate what they get them for and condition them. That's that's what it is. Like it's not this magical like kumbaya, we all feel good all the time thing. Like we're still working off of factors and taking something away. And negative punishment can be more punishing than the tools to a dog. Like it can
yep,
be significantly worse on how they feel about it. But again, like they try and push this idea of like, oh no, it's all happy all the time. And it's not. It's just not possible. There is no animal or person or thing on this planet that survives without pressure. Like pressure is what pushes all of us. It makes us make decisions, good or bad. And we learn from it and we grow from it. But somehow in 2025 in dog training, we're just going to take all that away. We're going to take away thousands and thousands of years of hardwiring to understand how pressure works and how to make myself feel better and accomplish certain tasks. And yeah, we're going to go purely positive. Like saying defund the police, like it's not going to work.
yeah. I mean, even the whole mindset of like you said, to get a dog to even want food, like that's a form of negative reinforcement of itself. If you're hungry, you're trying to relieve the pressure of hunger, right?
Yep.
So you'd have to start there in order to even get a dog motivated to want to eat. And then there's, oh man, there's so many different levels. Like even if if a dog eats too much, now it's aversive, right? Like your favorite meal, you love it, but if I fed it to you, 24 hours a day, you're going to get sick of it at some point. So,
Yeah.
then it becomes aversive. So, and you won't be able to stand the sight of it. So you could easily change that. Um, and then I get it. There's some people that are better at play and orchestrating that and et cetera, et cetera. But the problem is it comes down to when the dog is not motivated by what you can offer it, then what else do we have?
Yeah. It's not gonna work, man.
Yeah, that's another thing I'm wondering, like, will they take out of state, like, you know, their take on it? Like, are you able to vote, or do you have to be within? I would imagine you'd have to be in the
Within
state
New
of
York.
New York. Yeah, but I mean, if it starts there, somewhere big. I mean, what is New York? What, second largest?
By population, it's probably New York, then California, then New York,
Yeah,
or
so
vice
they're
versa.
they're second. They're somewhere in the top 5 for sure in the United States, like you said, by population. So if they were to swing that, I mean, how long does that take before it spreads to other states?
I can tell you where it ain't coming. Damn sure ain't coming to the South. Got me fucked up.
Alrighty, well, we'll see.
Yeah. Be interesting.
All right. Well, anyways, we had a subject that wasn't even the whole focal point. We're just
No, but that tells you how much we can't stand. Like, it just can't be allowed to happen.
yeah, no. I mean, and it's all for the benefit of the dog. Like, if you're able to train that way and you're successful, good on you. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not on that extreme end of balanced training either, where I'm going to say, no, everybody needs to have an e-collar, or every dog needs to have a leash, every dog needs to have a prompt. I'm not on that extreme either. I'm just like, dude, let everybody do what they do within ethical reasons,
Fantastic. Yeah.
and and continue to help dogs the best way we know how to do,
Yeah.
and
It's like
stay
we're all
current.
grown ups.
Yeah, imagine,
Yeah. God forbid we can all make our own decisions.
right?
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we can segue into our topic for the day,
Yeah, what's
which
that?
is probably one of the I'd say it's the biggest factor in dog training that dictates how we train dogs and what we do with them, but probably talked about the least, which is timelines and how they affect dogs and our decisions and training and things like that. And not only the dogs, but how they affect us as the trainers or the owners.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's something that we've been talking about a lot recently, and I think for me, like, it's really hard to say, like, when I'm doing my own thing, it's more of a trial and error for me. So on the pet side of things, I know we put a lot of constraints on ourselves, and like you said, that has a deeper influence on what the process that we're going to go about. So, point in case, this dog that I have currently, it's for 14-day board and train, and it's came to me literally urinated just walking through the door on a harness, right? Well, the clock starts the day it's dropped off. We
Yep.
put 14 days on it, and I'm trying to do the best I can. So the first 3 days have been just him wandering around the house, me trying to offer him treats and stuff like that. And it was just too much. He just, at the end of the day, just too much for him. And we just never made it to that point. So on like day 3, I'm still trying with the treats and everything. And it's just not happening, right? So now what are we left with? Because now I'm down to 11 days. And now the pressure goes from the dog and it's starting to shift, to me. It's like, dude, you got to make something happen. And so lo and behold, I mean, we just went to pressure, like just a slip lead, small incremental steps in pressure. I won't, water down the subject too much with that, but just little things. Can you move at the leash? Pressure on, pressure off. Of course,
Yeah.
he kind of freaks out in the beginning, and then he starts becoming motivated to avoid it. And now it's a game, right? And he starts becoming in tune with my movements, how I'm manipulating the leash. Oh, can I beat him and go to the, whatever direction, right? Just simple directions, nothing, for a sit or a down or anything yet, just moving with the leash. He gets it. We start seeing tail wagging because he's like, oh, I can beat him. I can predict now. And so it
Yep.
gives a little bit more autonomy or control with him. And then so forth, we start teaching him to sit down, all with pressure. Couple of times I'm still offering him food in between. And he has some moments where he accepts food. And now we're on day, let's see. We're on day 10 or 11 of training out of 14. And now he looks a lot better.
Yeah.
And he's starting to accept the food magically, right? And his confidence is through the roof. I take him to the park. We can take him to the mall, things like that. And he's very, very, a lot different than where he started. But going back to what you were saying as far as time constraints and things like that, dude, it's a motherfucker, you know, like when you start feeling that pressure, you're like, I have to make something occur.
Yeah, we all do it, and it's funny because it can be a board and train or a personal dog. I think it's probably more prevalent in the board and trains, or at least I'd imagine so. Like it was for me, because like you said, you get a dog in, it's not responding the first few days, and you're like, yo, I got 11 days left, and we still got to accomplish sit down, play, stay, he'll come, and then we got to proof it. Like, yeah, sorry, we're going to have to figure out pressure or kind of go to another avenue to get that accomplished. It just is what it is sometimes. But it's a huge driving factor because, like you said, the stress doesn't start on you, it transfers and it kind of builds up to you where you say, shit, I've got to get this done. Days are coming. We now no longer have time to waste. Right. As even, so Toby over there, he is a 30-day board and train, a little over 30 days. He's got some reactivity issues and some stuff going on. He was peeing himself whenever I'd approach the kennel, just kind of freaking out. Just bad nerve, very jumpy kind of dog. Once I saw that, and I know me and you had this conversation, so let me backtrack a little bit. Before I was kind of in this mindset of I get these dogs in as fast as I can. I'll take a high volume of dogs. Back when I was training out of the facility, I'm training anywhere from 6 to 17 at one time. The second that happens, my timeline is way, way constricted. I now only have so many hours in a day and I've got X amount of dogs to train. So what ends up happening is I feel like we go to a cookie cutter method of training. We say, hey, this is easy. This is predictable. Like you said, I can start with pressure whether you want food or not. And I can start making things happen. And that's typically how it goes, right? We're like, all right, we need to get going. We need to make something happen. So we start putting pressure on the dog, we get it done, and then we can kind of fall in this cycle where we continue to do that, as opposed to now I'm more of the mindset of, okay, if time is the issue, then I need to raise my prices and I need to extend my time. That way, I'm not feeling that external pressure of I got to get this done. They're coming on Sunday to pick the dog up, whatever it is. I can say, hey, I need to get this done, but I can do it in my time, right? And that is so huge. Like it's been a weight off my shoulders. Timelines are tough.
Yeah, and I think for me, like I'm thinking about through different dogs I've interacted with and trained before, and like you said, I think first the cookie cutter method, it's easy to get stuck in that. Like it's
Yeah.
very easy, especially when you're doing this on a routine basis as a trainer. Like you're constantly just doing the same thing, and you find success in the protocol of methodology, and you just kind of take to that. Like, not to toot my horn, I'm not like the world's greatest at pressure, you know, or anything like that, but I do know ways to compel dogs, right? But then the other part is, I think it just depends on the amount of time that you're allocating to the dog. So like, obviously if you take a high volume, every individual session is going to decrease in some way or another, right? So whether that frequency is, yes, I will get an hour with every dog, you know, of training, but like not every day is every dog going to train, you know, that type of situation. Or maybe you will train every dog every day, but they're only going to get 20-minute sessions. So
Yep.
with that, you're not going to get the greatest result. You know, now the ball becomes more in the genetics of the dog, or how it its natural disposition, excuse me, as opposed to what we can offer it in training. So, and one of the other things that you kind of reminded me of is not the cookie cutter method, in looking at what is the dog naturally good at, that we can kind of start there, right? So if I have a dog that's super hyper active, like I have a golden retriever right now, young 9-month-old golden retriever. I just watched her video of a session that I did. The first 5 minutes literally looks like you hit fast forward on it
Yeah.
because she's moving so fast and just hyperactive, interactive. And so obviously we want to kind of create a somewhat of homeostasis in the training. So we want to even that out. So if her energy is way up here, I want to teach her a task that's kind of like lower, So she started out learning how to just operantly lay down. Right. I have a video of her, again, 2 or 3 minutes, just sniffing and running around, jumping, literally jumping off the walls at one point. And then all of a sudden she gets tired for a moment. She lays down. I throw food at her. Right. That type of situation. But I'm allocating time to that individual dog because I only have 2 dogs that are training. And so I think that helps out a lot. Extending those timelines. And yeah, maybe we have to increase price, but you have to know what you're bringing to the table. Right. So, and there's some self-worth that has to go into that.
Yeah.
And the reason I laugh is because I remember when I started out, dude, I didn't know. Like, my only experience was through military, and I had a personal dog that I would not, I wouldn't count that as much devoted training. It was literally at her own pace. But so my prices, I mean, I was doing 30 days for $500.
Yeah.
The great value prices is what
Yep.
I said. But there was no self-confidence in that. So, and I'm surprised, thank God to the lady that let me train her Doberman.
Yeah.
But so with that, now what I know now, my prices are way up there, and the longer we go in training, the more in depth, obviously the higher price, but the better quality you're going to receive. So that's
Yeah.
kind of that's an internal battle that people or trainers have to figure out for themselves. Like, dude, I have a skill set, I have this commodity. If it takes more time, then so be it. But also don't devalue, what you do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I feel like we've all been there where you discount a dog who you know is going to be a lot of work, but you either try to make the sale or help the family out. And usually, like, let's say it's a 4-week board and train. By week 1 or 2, you're sitting there shaking your head, looking like I never should have done this because it's so much work. And again, you got the pressure of that timeline creeping up, and you're now getting underpaid for something that's taking significantly more time. And that's a big part of it. Like, it's rough, but man, it's funny you talk about your great value prices though. I think every dog trainer started there at some point. I used to, so my board and trains were maybe like $750 a month the first couple, and I had a friends and family discount where I'd give like 20, 30, 40% off to people.
Jesus.
Well, what ended up happening was I just gave that shit to everybody. I just ended up lowering my price to begin with, and it wasn't worth it. I had to go back and really reassess and say, hey, this is the time this is worth. Because I have to edit videos. I've got to train your dog. I'm putting content together to teach you what I'm doing with your dog, and bringing you from scratch to proficient dog handler. Not you specifically, but in general.
Right.
So that takes time, and I got to get paid for that time. It's how everything works.
Yeah, and I think like a lot of it, I mean, people it's hard on the trainer because you don't understand, like, you don't really understand how much time it consumes of you. I think, especially if you start out and you're single and you don't really have much going on socially, like that is your life. But then you start to, not even if I don't even want to say like just having a family, because I started out training dogs, pet dogs, after I had my son and everything else. But you, it's such a passion for you. I think it's the biggest problem, is that you love doing the work. And most dog trainers, if not all, we have an infatuation with dogs. We love dogs, whether we love them for the psychological, understanding, which I kind of fall in that category. Communicating with an animal to me is the most fascinating thing, especially from my background where, I was pretty afraid of dogs growing up, and I still have some residual there. But to going into, like, my family doesn't believe that I still do this professionally. But getting back to it, you kind of, it's more of a passion thing. Like you said, you just want to help people. And then you start seeing how you can help people, change people's lives, the dog's life, et cetera, that you forget to put the monetary value to it. And that's
Yeah.
where I felt, I was like, oh, this is great. I get to help people out. And that's where literally the name of my company is Helping Hand, Canine. And so, I thrive off of that you kind of forget that this is consuming a good portion of your life until you meet that dog, like you said, and you're like, ah, shit, I probably should have charged more, or I should have,
Yep.
made this worth it, or it's more work than what you intended or thought you're gonna receive, and so you have to, and then you start considering that going forward.
It's a tough position to be in, that's for sure. I think that's why timelines are so important, and it's weird because no one talks about it. And I know we're talking about the downsides of it. I'm gonna go ahead and throw in one pro that I can think of for timelines. One of the biggest things I can see is having a due date pushes people to be more proactive, where normally they might let something sit for a while or they kind of simmer on it. When you have a timeline that says, hey, this has to be done by this date, you tend to push to make that happen if you at least care about your job, right? Like, people are going to try and show up by that date and time. No matter what's going on, what's happening, they're going to try and be there. Yeah, it is weird, but it's just not talked about. Timelines dictate everything we do. The length of boarding trains, even your own personal dogs, we have goals and timelines in our head. Like, I know for me with Mona, one of the things I've already, like, this year I want to knock out a PDC. I want to try and go for the first leg of the PSA 1, right? There are so many things that we could go to do that hinder that from happening, and it is okay. There is nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, I think from like outside of like board and train situations or pet dogs and things like that, like when we're talking about working dogs, it's kind of, I remember being in charge of teams and having plus over 30 dogs that you're responsible for, and getting their training done with a team full of maybe 8 people at best. And I'm trying to, a lot of the decisions I made in training, were just off of what day is this, and going into meeting after meeting, and hey, what's the status of this dog? Why isn't he at this expectation? Is he going to make it? And a lot of times, like, especially when I started learning how to balance out training a little bit more, a lot of it, I would find myself advocating for the dogs to be extended out in training, because I'm like, dude, can we make this happen? But is it going to be, what's the longevity in that? Like, we're going to force him to do something that, given a little bit more time, he'd be, better for the consumer, right? Because it's not going to be the dog that I'm operating with. I have to construct this for somebody else. So it can be a difficult thing, because in some realms it's kind of self-inflicted. Like when you're doing it for a business, you're putting those constraints on yourself. And then when you're working for a business, like I know when I started working with you, and when you had your company in South Carolina, in Beaufort, that was one of the things that we talked about. Like, what is the expectation for, a 10-day program, this day program, et cetera, et cetera. Like, what are we looking for?
Yeah.
And I think I was a lot more detailed in the beginning, and you were like, dude, it's not that deep, but that's just how I operate. But like you said, it's definitely one of those things where it's kind of what is it, catch 22 or whatever. Like, in the beginning, you have to take on, like, you need more experience, right? Experience is going to be the best educator for dogs. I don't care however you want to skin it, what your methodology is, because dog training inherently is so contradicting to the human mind and how we operate and perceive things versus how the dog perceives things. It only gets better through repetition. So you have to have reps, right? And experience. And in order to get that, if you want to expedite the process, you take on more dogs. Like, that's the only way. But if you want to be detailed and great at it, you would take on fewer dogs, but you better have something else that, you can't have that as your main source of income. So it's kind of like a lot of dog trainers fall in the umbrella where I'll just take more dogs and rep it out, essentially, make my mistakes, trial and error. And then hopefully I'll get better, within a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah.
Or you can do the method that I'm doing. Essentially, my main source of income revolves around training dogs, so it kind of coincides. But that's so it allows me to take a low volume of personal dogs or pet dogs
Yeah.
to
Yep.
work with.
I agree wholeheartedly, man. Why do you think no one talks about timelines in dog training? Like me and you have probably been going back and forth in this conversation for a year and a half now, and we'll just kind of bring it up periodically. But what makes you think that, or why do you think people don't pay attention to timelines? Or it's not talked about at least.
I I think it's just like anything else. Anything that essentially works will, if it eventually works out, then it's not deemed as like a real issue. So that's number one. Because most times we can tell all these horror stories about how, holy crap, I didn't think this dog was going to make it for X, Y, and Z reason. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, the dog still ends up making it. So I think that's number one. There is some level of success. Two, based on like the conversation that we just had, people don't want to talk about like what's gonna, what happens to,
Yeah.
I want to say, yeah, I'm predominantly reward based and all that. And then we layer in aversives. But like, to be honest, sometimes it is aversive first, and then we go back and touch it up on the back end, and the dog accepts reward. So, it could be one of those things where I think that's just one of the two main reasons. And then lastly, I would say that it's just not prevalent. It's not something, there's so many other battles to fight. I mean, look at what we talked about at the beginning of the podcast. Like, we're worried about tools getting taken away. So it's just a lot of other considerations that can be discussed. And I think that just falls towards the wayside, but we don't give it as much consideration as we probably should.
I agree with that. We definitely brush a lot of stuff like this off, and we try and pass it to the next person and the next whoever is taking over, which has got to stop. Like we can't do that for forever, and it's probably gonna something to be said here soon. But I don't know. You can't do that. It's not realistic.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just like anything else. Like, you have to have a reasonable timeline for anything. Anything that has planning oriented in it, uh, which is pretty much daily life. You have to have a reasonable timeline. And I like the way A-Rod phrases things like, what is it, 25-meter targets, like small objectives
Yeah.
in order to hit the big, big picture. And that frame of thought has helped me just not only for dogs, but through life, like how I look at things, like what do I want long term, and then just reduce it back to what milestones that I can achieve to get there. So, I mean, and that's just proper planning in general.
I think timelines have a big factor on life too, or timelines from life influence our dog training. Because I know for me, like I've got kids getting picked up from school now. I've got car lines I have to sit in. I'm working 12-hour shifts, anywhere from 5 to 2 days a week. Like it is a lot. It's heavy. It's a heavy load to carry. It can happen in all aspects of life. Timelines will affect us, but I think it's up to us to try and learn from them. Usually I try and see the value in waiting, because if I can't get something right away and I have to wait, or my timeline's been extended, there's usually some kind of valuable lesson in it. But people don't realize is it's not like I can put on a hat that says, "Hey, life, I'm just a dog trainer right now. Stop everything else that's going on." Right? Like, don't have my kid's school call me. I can't do anything for work right now. Like right now, my dog training hat is on. All these other time, like no. If I have a dog that's doing 11 days, like you said, out of 14, but shit, I've got a wedding that I might have to go to next Tuesday and Wednesday, right? Or vacation or meet the teachers or something like that. So at 11 days, just shrunk down to 8 or 5 or however long. Timelines in life do affect how we train dogs. It is the nature of it. It just is what it is. But timelines aren't necessarily a bad thing. I said they can put pressure on us to do the correct thing, which is what we have to do sometimes.
Yeah, I was thinking about what you just said. I want to circle back to readdress your question about like why we don't talk about timelines a lot. And I'm thinking about like sport training and stuff like that. Like, I think it's more egotistical driven than what we give it credit for, because everything right now is based on how quickly we can do it, right? And how fast we can do things in. And
Yeah.
that's like the ongoing trend for any and everything, right? The fastest internet, the fastest this, the fastest that, right? Even to how we order our own food. Like we can DoorDash it and get it delivered, right? We
Yeah.
don't have to do it. Yeah, we don't have to do much these days. So I feel like that's kind of to keep up with like a consumer market that has that expectation and the lack of delayed gratification. In order to keep up with that agenda, and especially when you're dealing with somebody's dog, like you said, the lady that has the 3 BMOD or behavior modification cases that you're looking to take on, she's willing to pay X amount of money for it because she views her dogs as her children. So now you have something that is of high value to your consumer. You're saying, hey, let me borrow that or let me use that and refine it for you. Well, the last thing that they're going to want on the back end is to hear that it's going to take 4 months to refurbish, right?
Yeah.
When the guy down the road from you can say, hey, I can do it in 1 week, whatever the hell he's going to advertise,
Bingo.
So I think that would be my answer for that. I think that's the main driving force.
That makes sense. I don't know if it's like just a very American thing, but convenience sells. Like you said, DoorDash. You've got Instacart. Bring your groceries to your door. You don't even have to leave anymore. There's just so many different instances. The two I would say that I see the most now are like mobile barbershops and mobile grooming. It's like they pull up to you, will grab your dog, groom the dog. Like it's like a trailer or a van that's usually decked out with grooming stuff, and they send it back on its way, or a haircut. Like they've got one of these trailers with lights, AC, barber's chair. They will pull up on you, cut your hair wherever you are, and it is all about convenience. I don't know if that's just America being the just thriving off of capitalism like it does, but convenience is everything. We even say all the time like time is money, right? Like we don't want to waste time, or we want to waste it doing the things that we want to do, not some BS. So, man, and I kind of lost my train of thought there for a second, but essentially, you're right. People do it because it's ego driven. We thrive off of trying to control our time, and we dictate our lives around that. Like we will do anything we can. I miss the most common, convenient fast food or time driven thing we do, which is fast food, right? Like we pull up to a window, we order our food, they throw it in a bag, and we go. Like everything is dictated off timelines. We try to save as much of our time as possible, but it's funny because then we have Netflix where we just kill so much time. Netflix, YouTube, but I don't know. It's definitely it's a big deal, and I think it's hard to be disciplined with your time. Is a lot of it too. Like we'll try and save a ton of our time, and then we throw so much of it out the window.
Well, that's the thing. Like I think we want to feel like we're not wasting time.
Yeah,
That's pretty much it. Because like the analogy I always use with that is everybody says, oh, I want more time. I want more time. And like for me personally, like if I'm stuck in traffic, I will drive a longer path to get home than to
yeah,
just sit and embrace. Right. So we don't want to feel like we're wasting anything.
yeah,
So, and it's the same thing with, I would imagine with board and trains. I mean, I've never had my dog board and train, but I would imagine it's the same thing for them. There has to be a balance of like, how long can, I'm willing to part ways with my dog for everybody has a number, right?
yeah,
Depending on the severity and everything, like they have a number in which they'll say, hey, I'm willing to part with my dog for X amount of time, right? And I think for me, like I've had plenty of people that have said like, oh, maybe can we just do a week and see how that goes? And I'm like, we can, but just know that the likelihood is your dog's going to come right back, right?
yeah,
Or we could take 30 days out of, the probably
decade,
potentially 12 years it has left of life.
yeah,
And that's nothing in comparison. And we could just knock this out and be done.
yeah.
So, and then it's more of like the perception of how we're using our time, vice what's actually going
Yeah, and I like that. The people don't want to feel like they're wasting their time.
on.
very good point. Because like you said, and I'm terrible about it. Like I'm way too ADHD to sit still for too long. So versus sitting and waiting patiently, I will get up and try and do 1,000 other things or move and do stuff to feel like I'm making progress. And really, I'm probably just working harder, not smarter. But that's how timelines work. That's how much it influences us because we don't want to feel like we're losing the one thing we can't get back. Dog training puts that pressure on you heavy because you've got people who are sending a dog away who are very attached emotionally. Like this is a family member for them. In the instance of a board and train, this is a family member for them. And they can't imagine parting with it for X amount of days. So now, as the trainer, you have that burden or that weight, that pressure where you say, okay, they want the dog back on this time. Like they could barely do away with the dog for 30 days. So it's not like I can just say, hey, I need 15 more days. And they're going to be like, yeah, sure, keep them an extra month. Not how it works. And then you got other dogs coming in, you got different things going on. The pressure builds up really fast. And we feel like we don't want to waste time. Again, so instead of sometimes waiting for a dog to build some motivation and giving them treats and trying to get them to come around, maybe we go to pressure a little too soon or we do things that we could have waited on or we start skipping steps ultimately is what happens. And it's a part of it. It's again, timelines, drive, everything.
Yeah, we'll start wrapping it up. And I was sitting here thinking, and I think that has a lot to do with why we don't talk about it. I know I keep going back to it. I don't know why that's tingling in my brain. Like I feel like I haven't answered it adequately, or maybe you're just constantly providing information that makes me think of it. But like you said, I think there's a level of guilt, I will say, that people don't want to admit to, especially dog trainers, obviously, saying that like I could have done it a little bit better if I had more time, right? Not that the training was abusive in nature or anything. Like I think we've said enough to where anybody could try to argue that we sound like we abuse dogs in some way. But in full transparency, like you said, just it's not that the way that you use pressure is incorrect by any stretch of the imagination. It's just knowing that if we had more time, I would, spin and get the dog to loosen up and become more relaxed potentially and things like that. So there's a level of guilt associated with saying I could have done it better, right?
Yeah.
Had I had more time, had I given myself more time, had I made more time, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So
I can't tell you.
Go ahead.
I can't tell you how many times with my personal dog, like I'll be training a dog and I'll look at my personal dog and we'd be working on the same thing. The way I'm teaching it to that pet dog who's on that strenuous or strict timeline is not how I'm teaching my personal dog that I've got years with.
Right.
It takes me, like this puppy, don't know how I want to name him. Stuck between Bourbon and Woodford right now, but maybe Knuckles. We'll see. But whichever one of those three names, this puppy, I'll probably take 3 weeks or more to teach this dog to lay down. And then the context of down means down no matter where you are. I will teach that to these pet dogs in like 3 days because I've only got maybe 3 to 4 weeks with the dogs in general of training time. So it's funny because like you just said, there is a level of guilt because you're like, man, this isn't how I would do it for my dog. But you kind of have to find that level of this is good enough to fit their needs, even though it's not what I would personally want.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is has to do with like what I tell all my clients is I'm only here to minimize the reps that you would have to do to train your dog, right?
Yeah.
I'm not here to entirely fix the dog in 3 weeks. Like I wouldn't offer that. So what I do is I essentially initiate training. I reduce the amount of reps that you would have to do doing the fundamental stuff. Now the upkeep is continuous and contingent off of you, right? Otherwise, I would just keep the dog a little bit or a lot longer, right?
Yeah.
Unreasonable amount of time, like you said. I would take 3 weeks just to teach it down.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to expedite some of this process for you, and then you have to continue the reinforcement. You have to continue the consistency and everything else. Like this is, you know, a long scale project. And usually I over exaggerate the timelines that they're going to have to take just in the management of expectation when I actually, you know, return the dog back to the home. But yeah, that's a good point. The reason we train dogs in that manner and we don't do it for a personal dog is just literally we have to, you know, we're just expediting a process for them, but it's on them to fit that dog into their schedule, their lifestyle, and their needs.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap it up, dude. I can see you're falling asleep. And your
it's starting to hit
narcolepsy
me.
is showing.
Yes, it's showing bad.
Dude,
man.
my God, dude, the most dangerous thing. Fucking
I already know what
Jesus,
you're about
man.
to say.
Yeah, driving to Ohio to see Travis, which we have to get him on the podcast next month.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, oh my Lord. I always thought you were just over exaggerating that narcolepsy, but even
No.
in this one, like I'm hesitant to if we're gonna put it out or not. I'm like, dude, you're
Dude,
dying right now.
there was like 3 times where my train of thought was going, and it's such a weird feeling because I can feel my brain turn off, and it's not even that it turns off, because when I fall asleep and I'm driving, right, like for anybody who hasn't seen it,
Are you supposed to openly admit that?
I mean, I don't know, like I'm good for the most part. Like whenever when I drive, like obviously I'm in a patrol car 12 hours a day, like I sleep a ton to compensate for that.
Prior
Though I'm
to
not falling
shift.
asleep. Yeah, prior to
shift.
shift.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
I guess
yeah, you should clear. I got you. Don't worry.
yeah.
No, but I guess being on patrol is a lot different because you're in and out. Like this isn't like driving from East Coast to West Coast where you're just stuck.
Yeah.
So you're constantly moving.
And what
most
happens is like I'll be driving. So we got that 8-9 hours and I start to think about a topic, and it's usually something dog related. And then I go down rabbit holes. And literally in my brain, it's like I'm actually hitting rabbit holes, right? It's like Inception, where you have one thought and you're like, oh, okay, I'm thinking about this. And then you're like, well, what about this? And you jump into the next hole. What'll end up happening is I'll be deep in thought and I'll go, hey, I'm 4 holes down. And it's like I look back up and I'm like, shit, I was doing something up there. And I have to try and pull
motherfucker,
myself
driving.
Yeah, that's what happens. And each time I go down the hole, it's like my field of view is just getting smaller and smaller, and I'm going out. Like it's like one of those old black and white TVs, how they turn and like the screen comes to a close instead of just turning off.
Yeah.
It's a slow process, but it happens the more I get in thought. But I don't even realize it because my brain is actively thinking. So it's not like I just powered off and I'm gone. I'm thinking about something. I'm usually this usually pretty detailed thoughts. And then all of a sudden I'm like, where was I at? And it's just all the way down to the end of the hallway or all the way up at the top hole. And I'm like, shit, got to pull through, got to come back too.
All right. Well, now that's a perfect segue to hopefully if people are still listening, we need sponsors desperately to pay for travel so we don't have to drive anywhere. Or John does.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
No, I'm flying everywhere. Fuck that.
Hopefully. No.
Yeah, it's probably safest.
No,
it depends if I'm bringing dogs.
Anyways.
Or I can fly you to me, and then we'll drive from there.
We are not getting not after that story, dude. I never even thought to ask you, like, what goes on your head. I just assumed it shut down.
No, it's
that trip to Ohio, man, we drove and took shifts driving up there. I drove the whole way back. The whole 10 hours.
You're like, I'm not risking that.
Yeah, I was glad to do it too.
And I was like, man, I feel bad. You drive. You're like, don't worry about it. I'm good.
No.
I'm like, I feel pretty good now.
No, yeah, I would rather live to tell the story of how I had to drive 10 hours. All right. Anyways, so yeah, help us help John.
Yeah.
But no, for real. All right, let's wrap it up. How do we get in touch with you?
Jonathan Moses K9 on everything. Letter K number 9. Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, it's all there. TikTok.
Splendid. And mine is the same thing, Sean White on everything. And join the Facebook group. It's getting, I'm actually really appreciative. Super appreciative of everybody that's posted on there. There's trainers that I don't even know, which is the whole point of the Facebook group. So if you're listening, whether you're a dog trainer, you love dogs, join. And we post some interesting topics and just updates on what's going on. So join the community. We'd love to have you.
It's looking good, man. It's definitely starting to get that community feel to it, which is cool.
Yep. And then John has been aggressively working on the Instagram page, which is
it's not going anywhere, but I'm trying.
You're doing good. But no, that's going to be Working Dogs and Whiskey. Just type it out and you'll find us on Instagram. And if you message us on there, John and I can both see it. So if you have anything to say to both of us at once, you can message us on there.
Yeah. All right. Oh, wait.
What?
And check out the YouTube.
Yeah, we're on YouTube. Yeah.
The whole podcast is on YouTube, and then we'll put up some of the YouTube shorts on there. So if you want to see what we're talking about, maybe at some point we'll start like incorporating some clips when we talk about training.
Yeah.
I'm sure you got a picture of me asleep on that trip from Ohio somewhere. We throw that up there.
Actually, don't.
No?
No.
Right,
I was that afraid that it didn't even occur to me that this was a candid moment. I was fucking worried. Part of it, I was just astonished. I was like, he's really doing this.
Mid-conversation, we'd be talking. Boom.
Yeah.
I fell down the hole.
Anyways, whatever platform you find us on, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, give us a like, a follow, and a 5-star review, which helps us save John's life.
Absolutely. Got to fly out. I think the next thing we got planned together, I know you got hits next week after.
Possibly. We'll see, yeah. I'll be there for at least a day or so.
Yeah. And then we're going out to Travis's thing in November, which will be fun. And I want to plan. We got a busy year coming up next year. It's weird because I feel like this year's already gone. It's only August, but it's pretty much planned out at this point. So
yeah. No, exciting times and hopefully more adventures.
Yeah.
All right, that'll do it for another episode of Working Dogs and Whiskey. All right, that'll work.